I have a question for you guys. Of all you guys here, how many of you accept accept this Planet X theory? That's what I want to know. I know that many of you think it's plausible, right? But I want to know how many of you accept it. You kind of believe that something like that is underfoot, is underway. How many of you believe that? Somebody says update on cybersecurity threat. Is Norton a product? Norton is very good. Norton is doing a good job. They are. Norton is doing a wonderful job, actually. Now, listen, if you guys are going to get Norton, right? Norton is known to be very intrusive, and it has to be. It has to check out everything in your system. Let me tell you guys about something that happened. Speaking about people who hack things, let me educate you guys real quick. All right. Most people think that somebody has to have your credit card or address or something like that. No. All anybody needs is your phone number. They don't need anything else but your phone number. I want you guys to know that, okay? So be careful who you give your phone number out to. Oh, they only need your phone number. That's all they need. From there, they can get your IME number. And it doesn't matter if you bought, for example, say you went into Walmart, bought one of those prepaid phones, right? And you did not add your name to any list or anything, right? Your name is still attached to that phone. I'm just letting you know that. And all they need is your phone number. From that phone number, they can get every email you have with an association to that phone number. And that means if an email has been accessed on your phone, it's your association. Any account you've accessed via your phone is associated with the phone number. But your credentials, once you access Facebook or email or the internet, right, and log into anything with your phone, is going to be associated with your account. All their information becomes the IME information. They don't need anything but your phone number. That's all. And people are being extorted big time for things like that. All right? Big time. So be cautious and responsible with technology. Right? You have to be like that. Your phone is like your wallet. Just don't let anybody see it, because I know people think, it's a shame you can't just be free with it, but too many people are being their lives are being turned upside down by bad folks. It really is. One of the programs they'll put in your phone by knowing your phone number is that every call you make will replicate on their phone. Every text you send will replicate on their phone. Everything you do will replicate on their phone. And it does this without hacking into your phone at all. So I hope you understand that. So many of you guys do believe you do accept that we're in trouble with some external inbound things, right? I know that Pastor Paul has an upcoming event concerning that, right? But of course, I will oblige in his offer. But the days are coming when greater instruction concerning your life here on earth, living in that environment, is going to be needed. I want you guys to take note that in the Bible, something's going to happen atmospherically, right? And satellites are not going to have they're just not going to have the accuracy they have right now. Well, they certainly won't share that accuracy. Let's put it that way. Many people are going to be chopped off, or you're not going to be, your phone won't access certain, they're just not going to access the satellites the way they are now. It's not going to be available to you. But with a topographical map and with a special way to find out your direction, not with magnetics. You won't be able to do it with magnetics, and shortwave radio is going to be interrupted. Shortwave radio will not work. It's not going to work. I hate to tell people that. I don't say much about that subject, right? Because a lot of people depend upon those things, but sat phones are not going to do it. Any magnetic devices are not going to do it, right? If you don't know how to do certain things based upon topography, you're going to be lost in navigation because everything's going to look the same. There'll be certain areas you won't be able to walk into. There are areas of compromise that have been identified already, and believe me, many have moved their assets away from those areas. They already know about these areas of compromise, right? Be good to know it'd be good for you guys to know where these areas are, to know what they know, in essence, right? So that you can have at least have your guidance in the right way. There's one thing I have a hard time keeping my mouth shut on. It is this. When good men and women of the Lord have wrong information, that really gets to me. Because it limits the scope of what they want to say. Now, I know that ultimately everything is in God's hands, right? But I have a desire for people who love the Lord to have correct factual things that they're working from, not theoretical lies. And for the most part, a lot of people have truth mixed with theoretical lies. And they really believe in some of those lies they have. So they're not, the elite are laughing at a lot of people because a lot of people think they hold the truth and they don't. And why? Because it only takes one element, one lie, to make the whole premise false. And then if you begin to construct upon that lie, that whole structure is going to be very shaky, and it's not going to pan out in the end if it's based upon a lie. So I like people to have the truth, especially like, binary systems, whatever you call the thing, Planet X or whatever the case is. Some of the conditions that will form are going to be much worse than what people thought there would be. One of the bigger issues is going to be the air, handling the air. It's going to be hard to breathe. Pressure is going to change on the surface of the earth long before this thing actually gets here. So that means you're going to be dealing with the effects of this other system long before you can see it. That's a problem because a lot of people don't know that. They think because the sky is clear, everything is okay, right? And there are only certain agencies that have optics out there in space right now, and they're watching it very closely. They're not going to share their findings unless you know how to read peer-reviewed papers that are kind of locked in certain places. So when these things come, and as I do my best, I just do my part, but I want people to be educated with the truth. And one of the subjects we didn't get to are spirits. That's such a divisive subject, spirits. Right? Listen, I'll say this. There are things on this earth that are unbelievable, right? That's the true reason why I've been putting off the midnight hour. There are unbelievable subjects. Let me give you guys an example. And I'll tell this story. I told this story before. I'm going to say it again. Of course, a lot of people are not going to believe this, but that's okay. It's recorded. It's recorded. It's written down. It's a story that they try to wipe away. But a while ago, an army came out of the ocean. They didn't fly. They walked out of the ocean to a specific place. Now, I'm not going to name the place or go into detail. But they were described. They were described by many different folks there to look like crocodile men. That's what they call them, crocodile men. Both men and women. And as they walked up on the shores and scared people to pieces, it really messed people up, right? They walked out of the sea. Many of them were carrying these chariot-looking things with, it looked like a woman crocodile in the seats of these chariots, not males, but females, with a female body with a crocodile head and skin and stuff like that. And so, but they made a statement. The armies made a statement It was the wrong time. That was the only statement. And they all turned around and went back into the ocean. And they're said to emerge at a certain time. Here's the funny thing about that. Especially with in England, right? Obviously, that army has scouts. And they somewhat evolve like we do as far as technology and how they do things. A lot of what people see is likely attributed to them, right? Because it's just like when I hear people talk about UFOs, I always listen for certain things to see if they know what they're talking about. In a lot of cases, people just heard something from somebody else. But many UFOs return right back to the water. Many of these lights, they fly right in the ocean and disappear. Right in the ocean. Right? So we have days coming when armies of untold strength and of origins will walk across the earth again. Right? But they're doing things now. It's almost like a recruitment process, but they don't interact with people. One of the facts I do know is that men do fight with them on occasion. It's not intentional. It's more of a defense than anything else. But we don't have anything that can, absolutely destroy them. We don't. That's a myth. We don't. Their agenda or their what they want, right, is obviously is governed by time itself. They're not going to do anything before a specific time. But when that time comes, I believe parts of that are in the Bible. Now, I'm not subscribing to lizard people or anything like that. No. You know what I believe? I believe the Bible. When in Genesis 6 it said the Nephilim were in the earth before the flood and also after that. I also believe in other portions of the Bible where it essentially says that there were things that went into hiding. They won't be seen until the last days. They're not given any permission to interact with humanity or to take over humanity. But at an appointed time, they'll be released. They're going to be given instruction by the Almighty as to what they can and cannot do. Right? Somebody says, my question, how do we fight them in the reptilian war? I've heard people kind of bring that up. But unless somebody has the exact same insight, it's very difficult to even discuss if there really was a reptilian war. It's very, very difficult to discuss. By the way, there are lots of things now that people see that they don't want to see, right? And that they're Nephilim who were not wiped off the face of the earth, but instead they relocated themselves in different areas of the earth that men cannot reach, like a Kakor. The Germans who went down there and they spent millions of dollars in a Kakor doing things. But part of that story is a very true story. In the Chronicles of a Kakor, that documented what that guy documented. Well, that's not based on lies. Something is asleep in the southern hemisphere of this planet. And it readily interacts with humanity without words. And it will fully awaken when a kingdom is restored. So they say. Right? But some people know this for fact because they were brought down there. And they were assigned things concerning that. There are things on this earth that should remain mysteries, in my opinion. Do you know why? Because if you knew about them, all you would do was ponder it, and you would be hard-pressed to think about anything else. And it would be a big waste of time. So what if things like that did exist? Listen to me carefully. What if they did exist? Knowing about them would enhance your life how? Knowing that you could never interact with them, even if you knew where they were, you could never go and see them. There'd be no way for you to transport yourself across call it a spiritual gap. You'd never have placement. So what good would it do you? It wouldn't. It wouldn't do you any good, right? What I'm telling you is this. While everybody goes into those subjects, they want to know all this stuff about them. You know what the truth is? You really don't want to know about them because you're not ready to deal with them. There's a law in effect, and it goes something like this. I'm gonna give it to you in a very down-to-earth way. If you knew the tactics necessary to fight a grizzly bear hand-to-hand, right? Then you would know all about a grizzly bear. But if you can't fight a grizzly bear hand-to-hand, there's no need of you going out there to see a grizzly bear face-to-face. It's better to be trained and educated concerning a great many things that have nothing to do with a grizzly bear before you ever get educated about the grizzly bear. That will happen when you're about to encounter them, right? But what if you don't know about camping? What if you don't know about general survival? Suppose you thought you could take down a grizzly bear. You know what would happen? You'd go out there and kill a grizzly bear and then starve to death. Because you'd be in a place with no conveniences because you don't know how to camp. What I'm saying is, if we're not spiritually built up in God's truth, there's no defense against what people seek. We'd be beguiled too quickly. Our answer to Christ will not be full yet. He sends us through trials and tribulations to refine us. A time is coming when many of you will see it all. And I hope that you're ready before that time. But according to the Word of God, a great many people will believe in those things and what they're doing because we all know the old adage, anything that's more wonderful than man, that outpowers man, man bows down to. Man's primary goal is to survive. And if something is more powerful than they are, more awe-inspiring than they ever thought, they'll bow down to it. We know that by the talk of angels. It's why they don't appear all over the place, because men would worship them. And according to the Word of God, they're all around us all the time. We just don't know who they are. Because if they would ever announce themselves or do something wonderful or act totally righteous, people would begin to bow down and worship them. That's how people do. The Lord is educating us. He's in his timing is perfect timing. We're going to be exposed to quite a bit, right? But trust the Lord's timing. Try not to get ahead of yourselves and seek out his truth. Because if you don't wait for his truth, you're going to operate by a lie. By some figment of somebody else's imagination. You've got to be careful of that in these days. Because there are a lot of people pointed in the wrong direction and they're preparing for the wrong thing. And nobody can ever tell me that we won't feel pain on this earth. Because I've hit my pinky toe too. Haven't you hit yours? You ever hit your pinky toe? That's pain, right? All of us have had a headache. Most of us have had a toothache, right? We've broken bones and we know what pain is. So if we irresponsibly go forward in something that the Lord is not expressly hand walking us through on, we can hurt ourselves. We can spend valuable time in some very crazy places. And we're not walking forward when we do that. We go backward. We're wasting valuable time, right? But wouldn't it be better to be totally assured in Christ and to, in portion, hear these things of truth so you're able to handle them? so you can always walk upright with the truth, not with theory, but with the truth. See, because something comes with the truth. Do you know that? God works by a principle. Demonstration always follows truth. Do you guys know that? Demonstration does. For your eyes only. And I mean real demonstration. When you look back at the apostles' life, when they were talking about the Lord and his goodness, healing followed the gospel. Signs and wonders follow the gospel all the time. The good news of Christ, that truth, signs and wonders follow that. When you speak truth according to the Lord and for the cause and the edification of Jesus Christ and the cause of salvation in another, things, well, they do manifest in that realm. The Lord will open your eyes to things you never thought possible. But if you grab the knowledge too soon without the wisdom to utilize it, you'll be just like the folks of old who couldn't even recognize who Jesus was. They had the knowledge and no wisdom. We're going to be exposed to a lot. I mean, a whole lot. There's some unknown factors in this world that are going to have to be told because they will certainly be shown. But precept upon precept, line upon line, makes a person wise enough to handle everything. If we do things in our own personal timing, we're going to rush it, right? We're going to rush it. It's not going to accomplish like the Lord would have it accomplish. They're going to talk about some things, but you're always going to find the spiritual principles in there. Always. So that you can have the truth. Because I have a feeling, and this is a bold statement, having already had experience with it, when the world sees it, you won't collapse. But you'll stand by faith. And you'll finish your race, no matter what comes. You'll be of use to somebody else. But if you're just as surprised as the person beside you, you're going to be no good to that person, right? You can be no good to that person. But people want info so quick. We got to be careful not to tie on to all these. There are tons of stories of what something could be. Don't you want to know what things really are? The Lord speaks about most of it, and he gives us good direction on what we should search out the most. I tend to agree with Christ. I do. Hopefully all of you will too, so that your life can be full and be within his will, and not go on some useless hunt for something that, well, just may not even halfway be true, but to know of those things that are real. When you have the truth, you'll find that you always had the truth. When you ever discover a truth, it confirms something deep within you. It does. And there are a great many things within you that have not been spoken, and that's why you don't know them. Because the day when they are spoken, you're going to know them. The question is, will you know what to do with them? Because we're about to see a whole lot. By the way, don't you guys think it's funny the other day when I was talking about that crazy shift? Now we have 2 strings of underwater volcanoes that they're about to report very active. And you find that odd, piece by piece. And this last big eruption was actually 2, not 1. It was 2 simultaneous eruptions. They were miles apart. One was small, one was big. We're going to have a lot more of those. And it will force things from the sea up to the surface. Hope you're ready for that. And what I'm saying, you're going to see these things with your own eyes. But seeing these things and understanding them won't save you. The word of the Lord will. And what he said will. And we got to be careful to make sure that we're following Christ. Not the idea of Christ, but Christ. We got to be careful of that. These are different days. Men's hearts are going to fail them for fear, for looking after those things that are coming upon the earth. That means they're going to find and discover and have to deal with things they never dealt with before. So will you. But will these situations and seeing these things cause you to go out and shoot everybody who gets close to your home? Will you turn into a fanatic? Because my last observation was, men are ready to kill each other when the votes don't turn out right. As though somehow God lost his power. He didn't lose his power. Jesus didn't lose his power nor authority. But you see how easy we forget that when something we don't want to happen in the earth takes place. Can you imagine if an unknown element surfaced in the earth by way of the heavens or under the ocean? Can you imagine? You wouldn't hardly be able to talk anything of sense to anybody. If they lose their minds over a potential vote problem, what do you think is going to happen when a totally different element is introduced into their lives? Think about it. Oh, and by the way, some of those folks on both sides you couldn't even talk to. Nobody could calm them down. Nobody could make them hear reason, could they? It's almost like the Lord is showing us what state we're really in. We trick ourselves into believing that we can handle things. But we don't handle things so well, do we? Time for us to be honest with the Lord, too. Right? We don't have to act like we have it all together. You can have it all together. But we have to do so in honesty and in truth.